Several student loan borrowers received word that their debts would be wiped clean in the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, just to find out they're still on the hook for the payment. One woman named Anne, this is her story. The 46-year-old woman was told nearly $200,000 in student loan debt would be gone due to Biden's student debt forgiveness plan for public service workers. Paid her monthly payments since 2010 through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, also known as PSLF, which applies to those who make payments for 10 years. And now finally, she had her full debt cleared. Now, the original article link will be in the description box for those who want to read it straight through. Now, I know exactly how Anne feels because when my $110,000 student loan was forgiven in 2022, after I carried it for 16 years from the ages of 36, 37 respectively to about the age of 55, it literally changes your life, not just financially, but also psychologically. And everything I did within probably the first 24 hours of the student loan being forgiven, it was like, today is the first day I'm driving to work in 16 years without a student loan. Today is the first day I'm eating dinner, waking up, going to bed, taking a shower, going to the gym without a student loan. For those that are young, that think carrying a student loan will be no big deal, it's a really big deal. And if you have anyone in your life telling you, do not go to that expensive college, do not go out of state to a private school, do not take on debt that you cannot afford. Sure, go out of state into that private school if you don't have to take on debt. But if you're having to take on debt, there is a problem. And there's also an especially big problem if you're having to go into private student loans. Because by the time you hit private student loans, also known, in my opinion, as shark bait, okay? By the time you've hit private student loans, you've gone through everything you possibly could, possibly even including Parent Plus loans. That school is too expensive for you. That education program does not fit your budget. So I understand exactly how Anne feels after carrying her student debt for a few decades to finally have someone say, your $192,000 student loan is gone. I actually don't believe it, Anne told BI, that's Business Insider. I kept saying, I can't believe this happened. I really can't believe this is true. I was crying. I was tearful because it worked. It just felt like I did the right thing. Now believing her debt to be erased, Anne could finally start saving for retirement. I did not believe that I would ever be able to save for retirement with my student loan debt. In fact, I had calculated so well that I figured, well, my student loan was slated to be forgiven at the age of 62. Remember, this is carrying it into my late 30s, into the age of 62. And I had literally calculated I would have about 5 years to save as much cash as I possibly could before I retire at 67, 68. That is a lousy feeling, all of those years, to know that you really just don't have a way to save for retirement. And you can try to save for retirement along with your really big student loan, but know they're going to furnish 15% of your retirement when you stop working. It's not fun, and I would never, ever wish on anyone to carry student loan debt for 16 years. And to carry it for 16 years and still not be able to pay it off and watch my balance grow from 85,000 to 110. I understand exactly how Anne feels. She believes that now she can save for retirement. I can now save for retirement. Anne says, I'd been ignoring my own future with the relief. I was able to put more into retirement, and I started making plans for my kids and their future schooling. Hopefully, Anne wasn't planning on getting more into debt. Then, months later, a letter from student loan servicer Mohila arrived. The news was brutal. The loan had been cleared as a mistake, and she would still need to pay the $192,000 back. I have to be honest, I don't think I really, really believed the student loan was completely gone until a few months had passed. Like, you almost kind of expect something like this to happen. In my heart of hearts, I knew it wasn't going to happen because I'd kept pretty good track of my own debt and stuff. So when the number hit and they said, yes, you've reached your 120, this was during the Biden student loan. It was the 1-year waiver that they did that allowed certain payments that had been denied to be counted and all of that. Thank you, Jesus. Okay. I totally understand Anne's feelings about thinking, she's going to start her kids' schooling and save for retirement, and all of a sudden the debt is back. I think that is to some extent. Okay. Everyone who's had their loan forgiven, and it didn't even matter, you guys, if it's PSLF or not, it's still forgiven. Remember, if it's not PSLF, you're going to owe taxes on it. All right. Just keep that in mind. You are going to owe taxes on it. PSLF, no taxes. So yeah, she's got that debt handed back to her. I don't even know what I would do if my 110 came back to me. Actually, I know what I would do. I would call it game over. I would make the absolute bare bone minimum payment, which of course would have the debt go up even higher. And then when I retired, I would just tell them garnish 15%. It'd be lousy, but that's what I would do. There comes a point where you just don't want to fight it anymore. And those of us that have had student loan debt for years, I should say decades, really decades, you get to the point you just don't want to fight it anymore. And we see it all the time on the TikToks. People going, you know what? I've been paying on this debt for 15, 20 years. All that happens is the bill goes up because I can't pay anything more than the absolute bare bones. And that doesn't cover the interest. It doesn't even go into the principal, of course. You know what? I'm so over it. I'm living my life. I don't care. Unfortunately, though, you need to care. And what I learned the hard way is you need to care about it sooner than later. But when I had my $85,000 student loan, at the time I was married. Two people making over $100,000 a year could pay off an $85,000 student loan. It could actually be done. But I think part of my failure also was when I was married at the time, I didn't sit with my spouse and we did not sit down and calculate how much student loan we could pay back. It would have been close to $1,000 a month. See, we have to remember that just because you're the one going to school, have you discussed with your spouse or your future partner, okay, the person you're engaged to, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to break up no relationships or anything, okay, but have you discussed with them just how much student loan you have and what the monthly payback is going to be? I absolutely did none of that. My spouse didn't ask for it. I didn't think of doing it. Wasn't trying to hide anything. I just didn't think about it. How stupid I feel today at 58 going, geez, why didn't I think of this stuff? Oh, I was like, hey, I get to go to school and become a teacher. The end. My spouse and I never sat down and said, okay, if we take on an $85,000 student loan, because remember, it's 2 master degrees, dumb, but we digress here, okay? If we take on $85,000 student loan, how much is this going to cost us as a couple? How much is this going to cost us every single month? And how many years will we have to take to pay it off? I didn't do any of that stuff. Talk about dumb and stupid. Okay. And that's all on me. I don't even blame my ex spouse for that because it was on me. I should have been the one to know that. You got to talk with your significant or your to be significant. What is this debt going to cost the household budget? So she's got this handed back to her at $192,000. Quote, we recognize you currently participate. This is Mohila in the letter. We recognize you currently participate in the PSLF program. However, you have not yet achieved the 120 qualifying payments required for this loan. Your account has been corrected and updated, as explained below. We sincerely apologize for any confusion these errors may have caused. Are you kidding me? Any confusion? That's what you get when, they send you the medium shirt instead of the large shirt, or, they accidentally sent you they sent you the wrong meal on Grubhub. Okay. You're talking $192,000 and you're like, oh, we just so sincerely apologize if this caused you any confusion. You just redirected my entire life's plan. It's like is it a meteor? Okay. It's like a meteor came and crashed. It would change everything in my financial picture. Pretty much everything. I would be back to having about a $400 a month student loan bill. And then, like I said, I would just have to have it be on income based. And some people may go, well, $400 a month, that's not so bad. Remember, though, that bill just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the time, let's say it was at 110 when I was respectively 55 when it was forgiven, okay, about 3 years ago. So heck, it hasn't been that long. Okay, it's not like it's been forgiven decades ago. All right, we're only, a few months into the Trump administration. This was during Biden administration. So it's not been that long. We apologize for any confusion. The letter went on to say that Ann's loan had an incorrect end date to her employment history, which altered the number of qualifying payments she had listed. So that administrative error is what caused Ann's life to be thrown into turmoil. Ann is now unsure where she can cut down her budget to afford the $192,000 in unpaid payments. My kids were going to do summer camp. I was going to study for the bar exam. So I might have to put that off because I don't think I'll have money to pay for the course. I'm very upset. I'm not going to be able to buy a new car. My whole world has been flipped over in a matter of a week. Newsweek reached out to the Department of Education for comment, but of course they did not comment. Think of all the plans. Those of you who have had your student loans forgiven, perhaps you can throw in the comments, okay, when it was forgiven and for how much and how did you feel, okay, or nothing else, just, throw in the comments. Did you have your loan forgiven and for how much? If my student loan were to come back, it would have reversed the fact that I could pay off my Toyota Corolla. It would have reversed the fact that I now am able to put about 30% of my take-home income into retirement because I'm having to be very aggressive with that to catch up. So it's about 30% of my take-home, okay, because I live beneath my means. It would certainly kill any leisure, money that I have. I just wouldn't have any, or I would have very little. And her kids doing summer camp stuff, that's out. Now, the only thing here, she says she wants to study. She wanted to take the bar exam. I'm willing to bet that was probably part of the student loan. Anne's experience is unfortunately not unique. That being that people are told their student loan is forgiven and then it's oopsies. Many other borrowers have come forward saying Mahila or other loan servicers said their student debt was granted in error. It just doesn't make any sense. There was no notice to borrowers. I had no notice that this was a possibility. I've lived my life for 8 months debt-free. Without a student loan. But I would have done things differently than I had I known. Yeah, signing up your kids for summer camp and all that. Think about it. You think you're going to be living the life. You think I am free. I am done. I can finally get that car that I want, get the new bed I want. I can order the new curtains I've been looking for and the kids can go to summer camp. She didn't have all that in there, but you get my drift. Alex Bean, a financial literacy instructor, said we're likely to see more and more mistakes like this happen as student loan forgiveness is introduced at both the state and federal level. Oh, you guys, I just really feel for her. Loan providers have software that make mistakes, and if they discover it, they'll definitely course correct to collect. Now, let me tell you something. For those of you that are still in the process, perhaps you've gotten you're in the process of getting your loans forgiven. Like you've got your 120 and you're just waiting for them to say, okay. And that may be a very long wait. Okay. Oh, and don't forget, August 1st, Save borrowers interest starts for Save August 1st. Okay. Now then, here's the thing. A lot of you may have made overpayments. So you've made your 120 plus an extra 10. And you want to write in and say, hey, give me the extra 10. Let me tell you something. If your student loans are forgiven, leave it. Don't ask for a refund of the unused of the overpayments. I'm going to tell you why. I have a big belief that you do not want to give the Department of Education a reason to re-examine your file. So you've just had, let's just throw out a number. You've just had your $75,000 student loan forgiven. You've made an extra $4,000 in payments and you want that extra back accepted as part of loss, so to speak. You've just had $75,000. I'm playing with numbers here, okay? You've just had $75,000 forgiven, and you're going to quibble over an extra $4,000. I don't care if it's an extra 10, 15, 20,000. I'm the type that once you say forgiven and you've given me that letter, I'm gone. I'm out. That's it. Okay? I keep the extra 5, 10, 15 grand. Keep it. It's relative to what you've been forgiven. Technically, I think I made an extra 4 payments. Do you think I was going to complain about those 4 payments after you've just forgiven me for 110? I don't need to give you another reason to go into my file because you see, that's how they find errors. And they go, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? The accountant or the computer, as we know, put in the wrong date, Miss Horn. You're really not ready for forgiveness yet. Nah, I'm like, we're good. Wash my hands. I'm clean of it. You're good. I'm good. Keep the extra. Consider it a tip. Okay, that is just my suggestion. Let's not get all quibby over, well, I gave them an extra $1,300 and I want it back. I don't care if it's an extra 10 grand. If you were in a position where you had to get student loan forgiveness, let the money go. If you do receive a letter claiming all of your debt is forgiven, you might have to double check the fine print before hosting any sort of celebration. It's a good idea as a borrower to check base with your loan provider when forgiveness is issued to make sure you meet all the terms. It could only save you the burden of having to pay down the line, but the heartache that comes with it as well. Well, this is kind of worthless here, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. It says here it's a good idea as a borrower to check with your loan provider when forgiveness is issued. How are you going to check? They're the ones that wrote you the letter to begin with. If there's a mistake, it's going to be on their end, and I'm not going to know about it unless it is so blatantly obvious to me that there's a mistake. Like I know, like in my head, I'm going, I know I didn't pay that 110. They accidentally gave me credit for an extra 10 months. Okay. Unless you blatantly know that, then if you blatantly do, I would tell them that because like they said, it'll save you a headache. But in my case, I've had my loan for 16 years. It's gone through forbearance. It never was in default. Okay. But it's gone through forbearance and all of that stuff. I'm going to assume when you said I'm good, I'm going to assume after 16 years, I'm good. I also know how many years I've taught. I know how many months I've paid. Okay. But you really can't expect logically a student loan borrower, short of being able to access your student loan servicer's computer records. There's no way for me to double check that what you said was correct. Again, unless it's blatantly obvious to me that there's a mistake. But by the time a student loan gets to this PSLF or otherwise forgiveness, guys, we've been holding on to it for 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years. So I think that's almost like blaming the student loan borrower where the student loan borrower should not be blamed. No, the service provider needs to double check their freaking records. Okay, moving on. Or is that the end of it? Oh, you guys, that's the end of it. Okay, so before I close, I know some people have said things like, well, I've read it, time to time in the comments. It's almost like they want you to fail sometimes, but I've heard people write in the comments. I've seen people write in the comments, not heard. Okay. Things like, well, you never know. They could call back your PSLF. No, they're not going to call back my PSLF. And I have 0% chance of worry. First off, it was done 3 years ago and an administration ago. Second, without there being a clerical error, okay, you can't go back on a loan that's been forgiven. There needs to be a clerical error. And by the way, yes, I did look that up. You know, on this channel, I fact check stuff. You guys should know that by now, okay? No, there has to be an administrative error. In her case, there was an administrative error, and it was found 8 months after. Also, she is PSLF. I'm PSLF. And that is congressional, as you know. That cannot just be wiped out. That cannot be wiped out with an executive order, no matter who's in the White House. It has to be wiped out by Congress, public service loan forgiveness specifically. So, no, and the fact also, I was in the same job for 16 years. Okay. I didn't bounce around and stuff. So I don't know how this clerical error happened to this poor lady, but it did. And hopefully it doesn't happen to any of us. Talk to you later.